me to you, and then you're gonna tell us your
Yeah.
interpretation.
What do you want to do?
The Ecclesiastes 12 you wanted us to.
Oh, well, all I mentioned was that my most favorite recent book is something called The 5,000 Year Leap, which I believe every American should be required to read. It's about how our government works and how it's supposed to work, and some of its background and history. The author, it's a think tank, if you will, in Washington, a foundation that was responsible for writing this book, The 5,000 Year Leap. And its premise is to, as I mentioned, about our government and its constitution.
Yeah.
Our constitution, according to the authors, and I believe they are absolutely correct, was formed from basically four different sources. One is the way the ancient Israelites ruled their government. Another is Anglo-Saxon law, as expressed by the Magna Carta, which was in 1657 over in England. That's about the rights of man. And then, of course, our forefathers, if you will, the Thomas Jeffersons and John Hamiltons and so forth. And it used to be, back when we were in school, every child had to learn civics. And you were given a civics book about the 8th grade or 9th. But you know now, they don't want to teach civics, which I think is terrible. But that book, which I think every American should read, goes about explaining that. Also incorporates the Romans, Cicero, and their methods of government, the Senate, if you will, the lower house. And it makes for a fascinating read, and it's also, in my view, extremely important to making up one's mind about the principles on which we vote. We don't have some pre-selected, regardless of today's media. We still get to vote, and you should take the right and opportunity to do so. From that discussion of that book, there's a great deal in there about the government of the ancient Israelites. It leads me, or has led me in the past, in discussions to talk a little about that. You know, when Moses led the people out of bondage and God split the Red Sea and they walked across from Egypt. Judaism, there were three really different principles under which they worshiped. One was called the Sadducees, who were Jews who believed in the afterlife. A big part of them did not believe in the afterlife. Pharisees, who did believe in the immortality of the soul, and another term called Essene or Essenes, of which John the Baptist was probably the most famous and recognized. Jesus was supposed to follow the teachings of the Essenes as well. You know, John the Baptist, when he was beheaded, most people don't realize that there was a great panic by his followers who were believers in baptism as a method of absolution of their sins, and that Christ would come and lead them to heaven. The followers, the Essenes in particular, had their own scriptures, and they fled Israel and settled in today what is Basra, Iraq. If you remember the first Gulf War, our President George Bush told some Iraqis that if they were to save themselves from Saddam Hussein, we would protect them. They went into that area of, they were called Mandeans, they went into that area of Iraq called Basra. It's down on the Persian Gulf, a lot of swamps. There are thousands of them still there with their own scriptures. Of course, we let them down, and Saddam Hussein did them great harm. Although I'm told and read that there are tens of thousands of them still there, and most of the Muslims who are Sunnis in that part of the world don't have anything to do with it. They leave them alone. But nevertheless, my point about the practices of Judaism. As you remember, Moses went up on Mount Sinai and got the Ten Commandments. When he came down, he was already the leader, of course, having let him out of the bondage. His father-in-law, whose name was Jethro, set old Moses down. He said, "Moses, my man," this is my paraphrase, "we got to have a talk. You may have been talking to God through the burning bush, but he didn't put you here. There's no absolute ruler. You got to remember the people. And you have to make the people understand what they're supposed to do, not just arbitrarily tell them, I decided this or that." And so Mosaic law was created as outlined in Deuteronomy, and Moses sat down and wrote down the things that the practitioners of Sadducism and Pharisaism, if that's the word, were supposed to do. That where it comes from, no unclean meat, to do the Sabbath off, the Ten Commandments, etc., all spelled out in Deuteronomy. Now, as the Israelis sorted through this sort of thing, many of the people we remember from the Bible and don't know much about are written about and are some at great benefit to us, talked about by our clergy. There was a man who wrote Ecclesiastes, whose name we don't know. The Jews simply call him the preacher, because Ecclesiastes, for the most part, is a great sermon. None of it more than the 12th chapter, a sermon about, if you will, getting right with your Lord. You want to open it to chapter 12. Chapter 12 of Ecclesiastes is part of a sermon that a group that I, Eric, have belonged to for a long time, Wayne, and of course, Thomas Hunter. The Masons put a great deal of credibility as to their teachings on the 12th chapter of Ecclesiastes, because it's about getting right with one's neighbor. You gonna read it, Nancy?
Yeah. Okay.
I'd recite it, some of it for you, but just read it would be easier.
Okay. All right. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth.
In other words, remember your Creator when you're a young person. Don't wait till you're 80 to decide.
Right.
While the evil days come not, nor the
While you're not hurting yet, your youth.
evil days, then thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them.
I think you skipped something.
Okay.
And then-
Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the
No,
years
you're not sick,
draw-
you're still well. I'm sorry, I've got it in.
That's okay. Nor the years draw nigh.
As you get older,
Okay. I have no pleasure in them.
you learn that your days when you get up when you're older aren't as pleasant as those were, but a few years earlier.
While the
That's right.
sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened.
That means when your eyes are still capable of seeing things without darkness.
Great. Nor the clouds return after the rain.
When you wake up and you're sort of drowsy and not in control of your emotions or your physical well-being. You're ill, you're not well from yesterday, you hurt yourself, whatever.
In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble,
The keepers of the house trembling are your legs.
and the strong men shall bow themselves,
We get stooped over as we age.
and the grinders cease because they are few.
Your teeth fall out.
Oh, okay.
All right, read that again.
The grinders cease because there are few.
Your teeth leave you. as you get
Mighty
age.
darn.
And those that look out of the windows be darkened.
Your eyesight dwindles as you get older. So you have to revert back there. Remember that thy creator in the days of thy youth. If you wait till your eyesight starts going, it diminishes your ability to understand what's happening.
Right.
And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low.
When you're old enough that your teeth start falling out, people start reacting to you, not necessarily in a good way. We often don't take care of our ages as we should. They are easier to stay away from. Oh, I'll go see them later. You know,
And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird,
when you're aged, if the slightest sound bothers you, you don't sleep soundly.
and all the daughters of music shall be brought low.
You can't hear well.
Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high,
You ever know an old person that was, including myself, willing to walk up a ladder? No. That's one of the fears you gain as you age.
and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish.
That's when your hair turns white. Almond tree is at first, the leaves turn white, like our hair does, if you got any left.
And the grasshopper shall be a burden, and
And
desire
the
shall
littlest
fail.
thing to an old person becomes a problem. Even little insects.
Yes.
Yes. You gotta remember to get right with your God when you're a young person. Oh, yeah.
And desire
No,
shall fail, we all know about that.
Yeah, there you go.
What now?
Desire shall fail,
Oh, yeah.
okay? Because man goeth,
Man is no longer, when he's aged, he's not the same man he was.
because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go to the street.
Yeah, when you're an old person, you're going to die, and people you know are gonna be mourners, and they'll be out in the streets while you're still around.
Or ever the silver cord be loosened, or the golden bowl be broken.
Those are, it's just upon your nervous system, your urinary tract, and as it goes up, describes an organ of the body that begin to fail you as you age.
Or the pitcher be broken at the fountain.
That's your brain doesn't function right. I'm sorry, I'm wrong, that's the heart. It doesn't make things flow right.
Or the wheel broken at the cistern.
That's the brain.
There's
That's it. Isn't that interesting?
very,
Yes.
very.
One of
I
them,
don't know how you. How do you get that out of that? How do you
Well,
get
It's been
that out
for
of
many
you got to
years.
be smart
Yeah.
like him.
no,
I can
Well,
understand.
no,
Why is
no.
that?
No, you don't.
Just the side version.
Me too.
That's the way it's interpreted. It's seen
That is fabulous.
Well, he says no.
let me tell you that,
Listen,
there are, as you know, various versions of the Holy Scriptures, some of which are complementary to each other, some of which are contradictory
That's
to
right.
each other.
yeah.
And it is within you and your God to determine
Determine
what you believe.
I
A
know that.
study of such things as, that might be, I don't remember, because there are many of them that are written as study guides. One of them is called CNV, for those who'll write down what their belief is.
And that's their
And
belief, that's
it's
their
like my
version.
dad wants to, a conversation with my dad and one of my friends, we were talking about prayer in schools, and they asked him what he thought. He said, well, my belief is it depends on who's doing the praying. And that's the way it is with your belief. You might choose to believe a portion of scripture that the Watchtower folks deliver to your house on Sunday, whether you want it or not, is the way to believe. I don't, but certainly reading it is expansive of your understanding. The, from Jehovah's Witnesses to the Mormons, we all have different beliefs,
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
or Presbyterians, or Catholics, or whatever. And that's not to say that I believe one is any better than the other, I
No.
don't.
No.
No.
Whatever you decide
That's right.
is what,
It's
is
your
what's going. Yours
Right, that's how I feel.
Right, exactly.
Between you and your Lord.
That's right.
That's right.
And the preacher, whoever he was just setting about to tell the Jews who would read Ecclesiastes, don't wait too late. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth,
Yeah.
not when all these things start happening to you. That was his lesson, if you will, or his sermon.
The preacher. That was the
Preacher
preacher.
man.
Yeah.
And again, I emphasize, nobody knows who he was. But he was likely a Pharisee.